our philosophical teachers of how the universe works. See, this was not religion to us. This became religion when the Europeans and the Arabs started creating religion. Before they came up with religion, there was a system of just doing the proper rituals in life that was decided from observation of nature would be divine ways to act, meaning you don't destroy the planet. And if you have respect for the planet, you have respect for the people, because you know the people are the planet. There's only someone who has no respect for the planet that won't mind enslaving other people and dropping bombs all over the planet. Okay? So now, the camel going through the eye of a needle, the way this works is like this. They don't mean a needle that you put thread through. You can see it that way and it'll be totally suitable. But the true reality of this biblical reference is that the eye of a needle was, they had, let me explain it to you. They had big breakaway gates on these installations. And the gates had really big, huge doors. But inside of these huge doors, they had smaller doors. Let me explain it to you. Imagine this being a door. Okay, this is a door. But imagine this thing opens in the middle right here. Okay, right down the middle. They open and one pull this way and the other one pull that way. Okay? But now imagine also when these two doors be shut, you can have one door right here. And you can have a door in each big door at the bottom. And this little door can open by itself. Or this little door over here can open by itself. And when you open these little doors down here, you can leave these big doors still closed. Well, these little doors will open up so they can have better control of the gate to monitor who gets in and out of the city. See, if they open the big doors, you can have a whole caravan of soldiers just run right into your city. But if you keep them little doors open and you have people all out there in the bush watching and everything, as soon as they see somebody coming that could be a threat to the city, they blow their bugles and the sound will reach back to you before the people on that's an adverse threat can make it to the center. That gives you enough time to shut those little doors. Now see, when they had caravans that came in sometimes with camels, what goes on is the camel will be loaded down with all of the wares of the merchant that's coming into the city to sell his wares. You know, once they knew who you were and you established a reasonable amount of respect with the proprietors in the city, they would let merchants come into the city and trade with them. These were Arabs and white men as well as other black men coming into Egypt, which was the metropolis that everybody flocked to. So what they would do is they had the people out there standing guard at the little gates, and at the same time they had the guards out in the bush watching all the merchants that's coming back and forth to and fro. And then what had happened is when someone show up with a camel, it's just like a truck. The camel was like a truck. People loaded it down with everything they wanted to sell. But when they got to the gate, they most of the time would get there hoping that the big gates was open, because if they had enough protection in the city where they could open the big gates, then I mean that every merchant could process and get into the realm of distributing his wares a lot easier as to when he come and the small doors open. Now he's got to take everything off his camel, pack it all through the small door. And it probably is a line because the people is going in at a slower pace now. It's like a pipe that's plugged up. And so you got a whole lot of stagnant people all trying to get into the city so they can all sell their wares. Then it all came through the desert, and all these adverse circumstances have got them to this gate now. So you can imagine that there's some moments of hostility going on and everything. You got to take all this gear off your camel, take care of the camel, get all your gear on the other side of the door. And then the fun part is getting the camel through the small door. That's what they mean by it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle. And that's what they call those little openings in the bottom of those doors that I was telling you about. They call them needles. Now, this is really true. This stuff I'm telling you, if you ever find a Strong's Concordance book and read it, you'll see that all that stuff I just told you is true. And so what they would do is they would come in because they had more than just Egypt. They had all type of cities all over Morocco, Egypt, even up in the land of the Canaanites. All these was learning centers where the melanated man taught math and science and philosophy to all the white men and to other black men. We were the master teachers of the earth that walked around with our hands stuck in our robes like this and wouldn't even touch people because we didn't want to give up our field. And our field is what we used to keep our energy source from when we charged up in the sun, because people used to actually walk around in the sun naked on top of the temples so that they could receive sunlight, light force all through their body. And believe it or not, it was even an ideal of knowing to get the orifices of your bodies involved, even as crazy as it might sound. The anus, the mouth, the ears, the nose, all of these places we knew were access to get sunlight into the body. And so we did exercises naked, all the yoga positions, and they opened up the anus, the nose with the right proper breathing exercises gets you to inhale all of that sunlight, ions, okay? And it's inside, internally now, all inside of your internal organs and everything. And this is what the priests did. The priests hang out in those temples all day. They ate the proper foods, just like right now. I know the proper foods that I should be eating is deliberately moved out of my way so the powers that be can try to stagnate us having the positive type of brain connection with the earth as to where our sunlight stimulations, sunlight induced knowledge sigils entering through these ions that I'm just telling you about. When you was put in circumstance where you had the wealth, where you could be living a stress-free life, and you had things provided for you, where you can interact with the sun, the way the sun put the earth, giving us trees with fruit on it and everything, where no one had to be a slave for no one. So you could use your God-given time to be in more touch with God, the sun. So the temples were so the priests and people like myself that were sun gods could be up in the sunlight all day, receiving sunlight information, keeping their fjord charged up. So when there was a time for you to take your hands out of your sleeves and touch someone that was sick or anything like that, when you did touch someone, you had the power right there inside of you to heal that person. And all this stuff is stuff that the Europeans did not possess. Though they knew we possessed it, they did everything they could to destroy that. And that's why to this day they won't even tell you that the whole launching of medicines and the whole story of the medicine god Asclepius that they do their medical oath under and everything, it was all Imhotep. It was all African. I could show you later books and everything that can and will demonstrate that the god Imhotep is the first person that had all the medical tools, the same medical tools that we use to this day: plunger, scalpel, those plier clips. Well, I can't think of the name right now. All those things that you see in a modern day doctor bag. I got videos that I can show you those things that are on the walls of Kemet. Then those doctors use those same things. Even the stethoscope. Go way back to Kemet. And I know that's hard to believe, but let me tell you something. It is the truth. It is the truth for real. And so what I'm getting at is that this Bible do have some really good, amazing stuff in it if you know how to decipher what you're reading and explain what you're reading and understand it as you read it. You know, everybody get a little something different from it. But what I'm saying to you is no one should be able to sit there and try to persuade you that there is a kingdom of God that's different than wherever you're at right now. Can you go somewhere where it is more divine? Yes, but God is in the places that's not as divine as possible as well as being in the places that's 100% divine. It's all God energy, whether it's evil or good. So God, or the goddess themselves, doesn't care about whether you're good or bad. That's on you. You're the one that's going to have to reap the consequences of all your actions. That's the way the universe set it up. So there's no God sitting around anywhere watching what you do to punish you other than yourself. Because you self-punish yourself when you do something that deemed necessary for you to have a negative consequence behind it. You just did that to yourself. The only thing that the universe is going to do is follow the abiding principles that's being written in the ethers about how certain things get handled. And they are abiding. They will not change just because someone has walked around on earth and fooled everyone into believing that they are a great person that should be able to be privileged to have the best houses and all the privileges on the earth. And then they stab everybody in the back and treat everybody like shit. Okay? So here we go. It said, okay, remember it said, and a certain ruler asked him, saying, Good master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus said unto him, Why callest thou me good? None is good, save one, that is God. Thou knowest the commandments, do not commit adultery, do not kill, do not steal, do not bear false witness, honor thy father and thy mother. And he said, All these have I kept from my youth up. Now when Jesus heard these things, he said unto him, Yet lackest thou one thing. Sell all that thou hast, and distribute unto the poor, that shall have, and thou shalt have treasures in heaven, and come follow me. And when he heard this, he was very sorrowful, for he was very rich. And when Jesus saw that he was very sorrowful, he said, How hardly shall they that have riches enter into the kingdom of God? For it is easier for a camel to go through a needle's eye than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. Rich people have one desire, and that is to get more rich. So this could make you be a shiesty person, especially when you're already rich. When you're still pursuing money, you probably pursuing big money, which means that you would take big risks and do some big acts of shiestiness. You know, it's real simple. And so this is the reason why everyone knows that a person in pursuit of wealth is probably not going to be the most honorable person there is. That's why you can look at politicians when they see the state of everyone else in the country being so broken and so poor and so desolate, but you see them riding around in limousines, drinking expensive cocktail drinks, and living it up very well every day at the taxpayers' expense on all their lunch breaks and all this stuff going on while they have big mansions. Now you already got a big pay every year. You live in a mansion, plus you get the limo, so all the carte blanche stuff that go along with all that. See, this is the stuff I'm talking about, as we're all poor and broken. Okay, but they still living like that, got it going on. This is what they're talking about right here. This is what they're talking about. Now all these people right here is what they're talking about when Jesus says it's hard for the rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven, because all these people call themselves Christians, but they don't want to fathom in their mind that they are committing crimes when they sit up in a position where they're supposed to be provision for the people that have taken oath to provide for. And then they know the circumstance that they set up for us is imminent death and deprivation. So they're all guilty of the crimes that they want to lock the deadbeat daddies in jail for. Okay, now why you gonna lock up the man who you sitting up watching all the businesses fall in this country? Everybody losing their jobs, you know that. But then you had the nerves to take advantage of the young men out here that you created this circumstance of their poverty, especially us black people. You see, and this is a form of genocide because it deliberately entices you as a man not to go out and have sex with a woman and get her pregnant. And then all you white people out there have the nerves to sit up and say shit like, well, that's good, there shouldn't be no one niggas on there. You know, people that have concepts like you guys and set up circumstances where you make people who was given permission by the universe to have the right to reproduce themselves, you make them be afraid to utilize that right because you motherfuckers on this earth with that fucked up religion.